Yeah.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and when Lynette gets a minute, she will call the roll.
It's all right with me. We're doing the place tonight. Patterson absent. Finley here. Lewis.
Present.
Linky.
Here.
McGill.
Here.
Seacrest. Absent. Schwartz.
Here.
Oh,
Bill's coming in.
Seacrest walking.
Okay, we have a
Seacrest, where is he?
He's
I see him. I see him. I'm just messing with you.
he's walking around somewhere.
Seacrest.
All right. So we have a quorum. So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda since we have not a full board? We cannot amend the agenda tonight, so it'll be as it is presented.
So moved. Support.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Citizen participation. This is an opportunity for any citizen who wishes to participate, say anything to the board or what's on your mind. You got 2 minutes to express yourself. Anybody want to have 2 minutes? Sir.
It's Mark, you must come to the mic. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Mark Mayer. I live over in the Tanglewood subdivision, and I'm just here to support the efforts to resolve the issue with waste collection. It seems like our services deteriorated very substantially since the new contractor took over, and I understand you may approve a new contractor tonight, and hopefully that will be much better. And interestingly, today I got a bill from the old contractor for August through October. So look forward also to hearing instructions of the conversion process to the new contractor. So thank you very much.
Mark. Anybody else have anything they want to say, Jan?
Good afternoon. My name is Jan Peart, and I live on Ann's Way. I have two things. One is also about the garbage collector, and I also received a payment request. It's my automatic from August to October, and I was wondering how that would be handled as part of the new contract. My other thing that I wanted to talk about is specifically about the audit letter, and specifically about the improper escrow disbursement, and that's about the 100,000 that was wrongly paid to another company. I read what the auditor wrote, and I think I found it misleading because I had received from Laura Bennett the zoning ordinance, and it specifically states in the zoning ordinance under the escrow that the funds should be managed by the township treasurer. And this sort of makes it seem like the planning administrator, at least from my perspective, reading this as just a public person, putting the total problem onto the planning administrator. And it doesn't really mention the fact that the treasurer is responsible for managing the escrow. And so the way I see it is that the planning administrator made a mistake. It went to the treasurer's office, and it was their responsibility to prove that that was correct, and then sign the check if it is, and then pass it on to the clerk for the clerk to sign the second signature. And I felt like that was really, really misleading, which made me think then that maybe there is too much of a cozy relationship between the auditor and the treasurer's office. Because it doesn't seem really, from my perspective, from my knowledge and being in part of these groups and attending all these meetings, that it is clear understanding of the facts of what really happened. And so my suggestion is I would like to see, to address this, for me as a township resident, what would feel comfortable and acceptable is that if the treasurer would take responsibility for this, come up with present a solution that would address it, and so that we would know safely that this would not happen again, and that we use a different auditor for next auditing, so that we can move away from, in my perspective, this cozy relationship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Anybody else?
Ramona Parker Hayden, a resident of Superior Township. I have some questions on the audit. First of all, I still don't understand why we don't follow best practice. Well, you guys don't follow best practices by changing auditors every 3 years. You've had the same auditor for 20 years. And like Jan alluded to, the relationship becomes a bit too much familiarity for me. And once again, this is the sixth audit that I reviewed, and the auditor has the same comment in the letter of material weaknesses. And once again, it's in internal controls, which means you have done nothing to rectify that. What he pointed out was with the improper escrow disbursement, that there was no in-depth review prior to payment, internal control. Under the fraudulent ACH payment of $8,000, he writes, no invoices or documentation was obtained prior to making the payment. Once again, internal controls. He also notes under the policies that many of the adopted policies are not being followed as currently written. You have policies, you're not following them. You have no internal controls. This has been over 6 years. I do not understand how you can govern the taxpayers' dollars with no internal controls. You are not accountable to each other. You're not accountable to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak?
Hold on.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Lynn Rose, and I've been I've been a resident of Superior Township for 24 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I wrote something I want to say because it will be more clear. First, as I understand, the Superior Township server was hacked over 8 months ago. As we know, this has happened throughout the country over and over. Major healthcare systems, credit card companies, financial institutions, and the list goes on and on, have been hacked. Personally, the same thing happened with me as a patient with a national medical corporation that was hacked last year, and my personal information was compromised. I'm now covered by the corporation identity theft protection. As a result of this hacking, Ms. Lewis admittedly made a mistake in trusting that an email from another colleague. However, it was properly investigated by law enforcement, and township insurance, much like the company I mentioned, covered the majority of the mistake. I'm sure that the computer system and some server security has been updated, and the firewall is much stronger, so this will not happen again. I also have confidence that Ms. Lewis has updated or created protocols and processes again, so this won't happen again. Further, I've known Lisa personally for 20 years and worked with her over 10 years on the board of directors of our condo association. She is a woman of integrity, honesty, and has been a dedicated public servant for Superior Township for 20 years. This mistake and situation should not continue to be used and as an attempt to tarnish her reputation and diminish her personally. Most important, I find it very suspect and appalling, really, that there appears to have been and continues to be a very coordinated effort in the past 6 months to attempt to tarnish the reputations of current township leadership, and especially Treasurer Lewis, with absentee ballots being mailed soon and the primary election 6 weeks away. With the next door app post and videos posted on.
Lynn,
Yeah.
you wrap it up. Yes.
Okay, I will wrap it up. I think all of this is very, I strongly recommend that this kind of negative political game stop and the township leaders move past these tactics, conduct campaigns with integrity and positivity, and continue to do the work that is needed to benefit the township residents every day.
Right.
Thank you.
Lynn, sir, I said thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll.
No, Landis is getting the mic.
Oh, all right, thank you, Lynn.
Also, for a point of clarity, the hack, there was never a hack to the computer systems here. If that was the case, we would have had to fall into cybersecurity protocols. So from a compliance standpoint, so I just wanted to make sure that that was for the record for everyone to know.
That's correct. Thank you.
On Zoom, Steph says, I would like to hear an explanation from Morris Concrete as to why they have so many complaints. I want to know why Morris has had their materials paid for by the township despite this not being in their contract. And I want to know why they have been allowed to dump removed concrete on township land at no cost.
Well, Mr. Morris is here tonight. Would the board like to hear him?
Um,
I think that a point of
he wants
privilege.
to speak in public comment, he doesn't respond, so.
Daryl, you can speak. You got 2 minutes, Daryl.
You gotta use the mic, give him the mic back.
Is that the only comment from there? Yeah.
I guess if you could ask me that question.
You need to speak into the mic, is this mic?
Can you retract that, please?
Oh,
Oh,
I would like to hear an explanation from Morris Concrete as to why they have so many complaints.
Okay,
I want to know, I'm gonna read it off, sorry.
yeah.
Why Morris has had their materials paid for by the township despite this not being in their contract. And I want to know why they have been allowed to dump remove concrete on township land at no cost.
Okay, those questions would have to be answered by those who are in authority that actually approved it, which is something that we needed because of our bid being what it was. And the complaints, I haven't really heard any. I do know that here recently in the last 6 months, for some odd reason from some place, we're getting complaints about things that we've never really heard before. One is that we put a concrete stamp on our sidewalks, which is what concrete companies all over the country does, to make sure that the people know that that is their work as opposed to other contractors, because there are other contractors in the neighborhood. So when they see work that's bad, they don't automatically believe that it belongs to Morris Concrete, because we really stand behind all of our work. And as far as any supplies that's being paid for, if there's a problem with that, I can actually pay that. What you just tell me what the bill is. I'll pay for it. I don't have a problem with it.
very good.
Well, okay. Is there anything else that the resident wanted to ask Mr. Morris?
Those are the points.
Okay, and if it's okay, I mean, what's the complaints?
I did very well.
Oh, where'd that email come from?
So on Zoom.
It's a Zoom question.
For all the work you've done, Daryl, we've had absolutely very, very, very few complaints. The work has been outstanding.
Yeah.
Ken, you should be careful saying what you're saying. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying for public record.
The work has
What
been
you-
outstanding. I'll stand behind that word, those statements.
Based on your relationship with.
I don't have a relationship with
Can
you.
you guys please stop?
Don't say you guys.
Please stop. Let's have a good meeting tonight.
We will.
Yeah, I would like,
Don't say you guys.
Well,
You have anything else to add?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean,
can I add something? I actually did go out and I did a field trip on the sidewalks one day. I always try to do research when there's questions. And Mr. Morris, there were people that were complaining about the work. There were people, and they were complaining about the stamps. And so I called you that day and I know that you said that you're going to try to take the stamp marking off.
She did.
which I
So, right. So I did see it, I went through the neighborhood just to look up for myself. I wanted to see it firsthand. And there were people, but there were a lot of sidewalks that were good, but I'm just saying that it's not everybody was thrilled.
Okay.
Okay. But most of the stuff that I saw was looking good.
I just like to add that we've been doing the concrete work out here in Superior Township going on about 3 years now.
Right.
And it's been going well until right now. I'm not sure what's happening,
Right.
but something right now in the last 6 months.
I think it's been for a couple of years we've heard about it. It's not in the last 6 months. We've heard consistently. Yeah, we have. Yes, we have.
It's on the record.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
He
All right.
just said he's been there 3 years doing work,
Okay.
but that's
Yes.
okay.
Not doing
Anything
work for
else?
us.
Sure.
So the complaints, Bridget Burrell that lives at the corner of Glendale and Sheffield Drive, her sprinkler system is up this much. And she said, now you're ghosting her husband. 1754 Sheffield Drive, they have flags that are stamped and they want the flags replaced. They don't want to sand it down. Jennifer Haas that lives on Andover, she called the police on you and there's a police report. One time, wait a second. No, she said that you told her that the township was going to make her do the apron. And then when you came for the money, she felt threatened. And that's why she went to the Washington County Police Department. In addition to that, the bookkeeper is here. I found a $20,000 overcharge on one property. In addition to that, at that same time, I went back and inspected about 3 times in Getty's Ridge, and you're aware of this. There was duplicate buildings. And in addition to that, there were houses that were built, you invoiced the township and the work wasn't done yet. Another resident had her sprinkler damaged on Andover. So what you went and did is went and buried it. And so for Irma, and anybody can do this, our agreement after that was that I would give you tell you how many flags to be done if I thought there was roots, and then I would inspect it after you were completed. And then after the invoicing came in, I inspected it again. This year, March 6th, I received 3 calls and I responded to you because residents said they had fresh markings. Yesterday, David Rudolph called me. He's on Panama Court. And he said, you better not come back into that court. Today, the resident across from there said you were authorized by the township to make markings. And you told her she had to get 4 flags replaced and that your daughter called afterwards and demanded the payment. Now, if all of those residents are telling false information, or Nancy is right here, I was working with her on the invoices. If that is false, then I told a lie, but I have not. Everything I just said, and I probably missed a few things, is true. My concern has always been the residents, never a contractor. And you are aware of that and you know it. And when residents come to me and call me and they complain, I have to address it. And that's all I've done.
Darryl, you'll have some time to make a statement if you choose.
Okay.
It's not true.
I would like to see all these emails or messages that you're saying or alleging that we've done. Like our company, we are doing a lot of work. So if there's sprinklers that's broken, I'd like to see where I was emailed and said that this was a problem. We would be glad to take care of it. That's what we do. Backfilling, all of that stuff, we do that. Now, I'm not sure who the person is that you said that I can't come. I'm not sure that a person can say that I can't come back on the street. What was the purpose of that? So, but if that's the case, I'd like to know why, and I'd like to receive a message or something saying this is so. Otherwise, I can't correct it. I can't do anything to make sure that I take care of our due diligence. We'll never, ever force or try to force someone to do work that don't need to be done. Now, as far as the markings, you guys had someone to go around and mark a whole lot. In my company, before we can repair anything, we have to remark it so that our employees know that it's okay to take those out. So those are the ones that we mark. Now, the other person that you say that This person said that I forced them to take it out. When we look at slabs, we are very professional and we know. And we explain to them, this one's needs to be repaired and that one needs to be repaired because those are already marked. We cannot be blamed because they're upset or disgruntled because they have to take out too many. That we cannot be blamed for that. And we also can't be blamed if they're not marked correctly. That was a huge problem. I'm not sure who you guys had mark them. I'm not sure when they was marked, but all of them should be marked clearly so that we'll understand exactly which ones they are. We are not out here trying to get over on nobody or rip anybody off. We do all of our work with integrity. All of it. All of it with integrity. And oh yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
You
One
can,
person at a time.
this seems like
Yes.
this is a special meeting for these agenda items. And
Absolutely.
we're getting Morris Concrete in it.
And it's not that.
Wait a minute. Only one person speak at a time,
No,
please.
but we're not on the agenda.
We're on citizen participation. We kind of deviated from it, and we've allowed people to speak on this particular issue because it.
With people who had been invited.
The one thing
to-
I'm curious about, because I never heard about the $20,000, and you mentioned Nancy knew, but do you know anything about it?
Boy. Yes, it was. I saw it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Come on.
All right. Thank you, Daryl. Anybody else want to comment? Last chance for public hearing. Dana. Thank you.
Dana Green, I live on in Oak Brook subdivision. Full disclosure, I am a candidate for Superior Township trustee. I would just like to ask the board and as well as the audience members, as we engage in business tonight, let's continue to remain cordial and professional in the way we conduct business. I know during this political season, tensions are high. But again, I ask that we all respect.
can you speak into the mic a little bit more so people?
Sorry, I apologize.
That's
I again ask that we all respect one another and conduct business in a way that allows us to meet the people's business and needs. Last but not least, I'm kind of hearing a pattern regarding several issues from financing to even Morris Concrete. It really seems like some of these issues are about process and just transparency and communication. And I think, moving forward, we should all look internally and look ourselves in the mirror about how we can be better about communication and transparency. I don't want to accuse anybody of any predatory behavior or preying on the people of Superior Township. I believe everybody that volunteers their time and service to serve the people of Superior Township do so with the mindset that they're here to help people. So with that being said, I just want us all to think about how we can be better about communication and transparency and think about process moving forward and how we can be better about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Anybody else? Back there.
You have to speak into the mic. You must. We'll take it to you. Yes, you have to, because it's being
Take the mic to you
Zoomed.
if you got an
We'll
issue.
try our best. Thank you.
Thank you. All these people who are standing up and talking about their $20,000 thing they found and somebody else who saw it, I have no idea who they are. I think people should identify themselves.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
That would
And
be
we did
very
not
helpful.
request that. You're right.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All right. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? Got one? Yes.
What's your name?
Yeah, we need-
Thank you, Deanna.
All right, seeing no more, we'll move on to our new business, and that would, first of all, would be Kim Palka with our audit for the year ending December 31st, 2023. Ken, you have the floor.
I just want to add one point of clarification. Will this include the escrow audit when you go over your stuff? Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well, first, I just want to thank everybody for allowing us to be here. And it's nice to see a full audience to come and listen to the auditor for once. Usually I only get a couple. But I also want to thank very much Nancy and Keith. They did an excellent job having the books and records ready for us. the management, the officials, for all of the assistance that we received in the audit report, putting the audit reports together. The first thing I think we should probably cover, because it sounds like it's going to be the hot topic tonight. I'm sorry. Would you folks mind if I sat down? It's easier for me.
Cause it's gonna be.
I just don't like
yeah.
having.
Thank you,
Landis.
Landis.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Let me know if you can't hear me, okay? So the first thing let's cover is the letter that is often called the management letter, if you will, and that's from us to the township board, explaining findings that we have. And basically we have two types of findings: material weaknesses and then what we call other matters. And as usual, as ever since we've been the auditors here at Superior Township, we have this material weakness, and let's just talk about this to make sure everybody understands why we put this material weakness in here. Our higher ups, if you will, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, says that when you audit a client, and if that client doesn't have somebody on board that is able to write the financial statements, in other words, if they pay you to write those financial statements as part of the audit, that's a weakness, because they don't have somebody that has the knowledge and know-how to put those statements together. And quite honestly, writing these statements is very complicated. We have two different types of financials in here. We have the financials that are on what we call modified accrual basis, which is the way you folks are used to looking at things. And that's how you do your budgets. But we also have to show financial statements that are on the full accrual basis. So we have to put in here all of your debt, all of your fixed assets, and depreciation. And this came down to us probably 15 years ago, when cities like New York and some of these really big cities had so much debt, nobody knew about it because they didn't have their audit reports on the full accrual method. So the AICPA did a blanket sweep and said every governmental agency has to have the full accrual so that people can see all of their debt and they can see their fixed assets, all of these types of things, not just their checkbook. Okay, so that's why we have to put those statements in there. Now, you don't have anybody here that can do that, so we have to say it's a weakness. It's a material weakness. The state of Michigan knows that. And they understand probably 95% of our clients, and we do probably 50 municipalities, have that same comment in there because they're not going to pay somebody else to come in and write the financial statements. Okay. This happens, a lot of CPA firms will put the comment in there, and some CPA firms shy away from it and don't make the comment. We feel more comfortable putting the comment in so a board member 10 years from now doesn't come back to us and say, why didn't you tell us that? Your AICPA calls this a material weakness and you never brought it up. So we feel safer and more comfortable putting that in there. So hopefully that gives everybody a better understanding about that first comment.
So Ken, do most townships like of our size have that material weakness
Yes.
described
Yep.
in their audit?
Yes. Yep. We have a few townships that have decided to hire somebody that can write the financial statements, and they have them written and ready for us when we come in to do the audit.
Okay.
Okay.
So do we know, can you tell us which townships do have someone? Can you share that with us around here?
I'm sorry.
What is that role?
You guys talking to your mic.
Sorry, I thought I
One
was.
question at a time, please.
Yep.
No, I was piggybacking on what she was.
Yeah, so it would be like a controller.
Yeah, one I can think of right off the bat is somebody that's close to you folks is Ann Arbor Township.
Okay.
Okay.
So is that the Woodhill Group?
Yes, they're the controllers out there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's the first one. Now let's talk about the other matters that we have in here. If there's no other questions on the material weakness.
Was that
we
the
good?
only material weakness you're citing right now, right?
Correct. Yep. And the other thing I forgot to mention, we do allow you to give your response. I think we're the only CPA firm that actually does that. And the state said, that's fine. If you want to allow them to give their response, go ahead. And in the response to that material weakness, you folks have always told us, and maybe you want to change it now, but you've always told us, hey, we understand it's a material weakness. We'll just have to live with it. We're not going to go out and spend the money to bring someone else in here to do what you're saying needs to be done. Okay?
And
Now,
we might do that in the
okay.
future.
Yep. And that's totally up to you guys. Okay. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say you guys, but it's totally up to you.
To the board.
To the board. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's talk about other matters. One of the first one that we noticed this year are all of your designated fund balances. Each fund has several designations, and we don't see anything as part of your budget approval process where you talk about that. So we're just recommending in the future, if you could make that part of your budget approval process, showing that the board recognizes there are designated amounts. And then going over the next year, what you plan on using those designated amounts for. We'll see bits and pieces on certain designated balances, but all of the other designated balances never get talked about, and they've been, staying relatively static for the past quite a few years. We're just saying, bring that up as part of your overall budget approval.
So in that case, that would be the controller telling, during the budget discussions that we have annually, that's probably when we would do that, correct?
Yep, part of the overall budget approval
Right.
process,
Okay.
when you guys look at the budget, or when the board looks at the budget.
So that would be a controller responsibility. Okay.
If that's the responsibility that you give to the controller, then
Well, no,
yes.
just that on an annual basis, he would bring that, or she would bring that to us to talk about, and we could ask questions. You're talking about designated balances like the tree fund? Is that?
Right,
okay,
right.
okay.
Yeah, Paul, you've got several designated
Right.
balances out there. So again, it's, what the board tells the controller and the accountant, what they'd like to see as part of that budget.
Okay.
Okay. The second one, let's talk about the improper escrow disbursement. Okay, so this was brought to our attention, actually by, Miss Linke. She actually called me about it, and she did call me about the matter that happened in the treasurer's office too. However, the treasurer also called me around the same time. So I know we didn't put in the report that Miss Linke actually did call me about it, one of the trustees. So I can add that sentence in here if that makes the board feel more comfortable. Miss Linke had mentioned.
I just remember during that time, there was another check that was washed by the utilities company. And when we talked, you were like, what's happening? Right. I remember that call.
Right.
So yes.
Okay.
What sentence are you talking about, Ken, that you would add?
Under the, I probably brought it up too early, but the third, the fraudulent ACH transfer. Miss Lewis did call me on that, and Miss Linke also called me, and it was around the same, it was within 1 or 2 days.
Right.
So, and in the comment, we were giving Miss Linke credit, or I'm sorry, Miss Lewis credit that she did call us, she called the police, she did everything that she should have done. So we were very.
That was after it was brought to her attention.
Yeah, it was within a day or
Okay.
so.
Adding that sentence.
Yeah. Okay, so on the escrow disbursement, from what we can see, our conclusion is this. There was a big mistake that was made. Who actually made the mistake, I guess we'll talk about tonight. But we see it as several different people actually being involved. The reason you have internal controls and you have other people looking over things is that everybody should be looking into it. And in this case, you had the zoning planning and zoning administrator, who at the time, in all of our years with the township, it was kind of the tone was that she or he was responsible for making sure the escrows were paid or were receipted into the correct escrow account and so on. I remember several years where we would see balances go negative, and we would kind of get on the township staff to say, you can't have negative balances because you're borrowing from other escrows. And she was always a person they sent us to get that ironed out. Okay. So in our feelings are that everybody that was involved with that, including the treasurer at the time, the deputy treasurer and the clerk who signed off on the check. There should have been more inquiries, asking questions, show us we know if there's agreements or whatever, show us the documentation that you have that tells us that we're sending a check for $100,000 to the right party. Okay.
So may I interject?
Yes.
Like
yes,
others have? You have to rely on the person who's responsible. So you're telling me I'm supposed to go behind a person who's responsible for the escrow account when I get it? That's what you're saying, basically,
No,
with
no.
me signing. I just signed the check. And for you to hold me accountable in your letter really offends me.
Okay.
Because if I didn't bring this to the entire board's attention, it wouldn't be an issue whatsoever. There were several people, including our attorney and the supervisor, who put something on my desk and said, sign off on this agreement. That's what I asked you to check on.
Mhm.
Did you get that? Did you check on it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
If I had signed off on that, guess what? None of this would be an issue.
Okay, but I'm still getting, but let me just answer Ms. Finley's remarks there. The fact is still, the reason you have internal controls is that everybody looks over each other and you're not necessarily going behind that person. You're just inquiring. Okay, Ms. Planning Zoning Administrator, please show me something that says this is the rightful entity that should get the $100,000 check. Everybody involved in that process.
So this wasn't even on Lisa's watch. This was on the previous treasurer's watch. So if the previous treasurer is given something
Right.
from Laura Bennett,
Mhm.
and she doesn't check off on it because the supervisor basically says, release these funds.
Right.
She ends up with the responsibility because the treasurer, she's signing off on it because the treasurer is in and out. It's not even on her watch. It was on the previous treasurer's watch.
Yeah, no,
Okay?
Okay.
So the bottom line is, she's not even at fault on this. It's the previous treasurer, and I don't appreciate you including me in your escrow letter because I'm supposed to trust people. People are wondering why our meetings are so contentious. It's because we have to sit up here and check every single person because you can't trust certain things. So I don't appreciate it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, can I,
Yes, you can.
sorry.
Put your mic on, please.
I think it's on, isn't it? Okay, so, Ken, I looked over that escrow audit, where you were identifying all the different, documents. And there were quite a few that I don't know if you didn't see, or didn't look at. But one thing that struck me, is that just like that old adage, when a lot of people are responsible, no one's responsible. And I'd like to share some, I don't know if you want it now, but I want to share some things that the foundational office that's responsible for escrow accounts is in our zoning ordinance. And the zoning ordinance states specifically that the treasurer is the manager of the escrow accounts. The escrow account folders are held in the treasurer's office. The controller and the supervisor in different emails to us clearly state that it's historically been the treasurer's responsibility. So in the end, when you're making a conclusion that quite a few people missed it, you're right. You're right, they missed it because the main person that was supposed to have responsibility for it was on her way out. She was retiring. And Lisa, I don't know what was, it was the last month. Lisa was here, sure, but she was the deputy. So for $100,000 to leave this township hall and paid to a developer that didn't own that escrow account, that's pretty appalling. They know that they have that money in error and they still haven't returned it to us. I think the board still has to address that. But from all the different documents that weren't included that you didn't cite or you didn't see. When we get to accepting this part of the audit report, I'm going to recommend that you go back and look at some of these other documents. Had you asked some of us on the board, we had a lot of documents that Laura Bennett shared with us. Laura Bennett was new to her job at that time. Her supervisor was the supervisor. I don't know how the heck this got out of hand, but I think that people want to blame her now because she's not here. And I think that that's just kind of disgusting. So yeah, we made this error, in the board, by the way, when I say we, the board's responsible for this stuff. We are ultimately responsible. So when I'm asking questions and when I'm saying, gee, what happened? The auditor didn't see that, you didn't see quite a few things here. And there was even an email from Rick Marinick, the last building director, where he wrote a great memo to Brenda, and again, a lot of people are sending memos to the treasurer. So they're all thinking that this is the person that holds responsibility. And in that letter, he claims that there's an error with a couple of the escrow accounts, and that wasn't cited. An escrow account has $3,400 more than what you're citing in your report. That's a small amount, but yet it should be addressed. So when we get to this point, I highly recommend that we just send this back. I can share the work I've done just to show you that there's more documents you should look at. There's letters of credit from the Bank of Ann Arbor that happened 2 days before Infinity asked for the money to go to them. So there's just a lot of things that you frankly missed. And I'm
surprised.
No, I'm not surprised. It's not that I'm surprised. I just want you to have, all of us to have a fuller picture because we're responsible. We are responsible, every one of us. So
I just want to say for the record, the supervisor's office has never had anything to do with the disbursement of escrow.
We know that.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So, but I would say if
Is
Laura
that the-
brought that check to me for $100,000, it would have raised some eyebrows on me. I would have asked to verify the fact that money was truly owed.
But you're her supervisor,
It-
Ken.
yes,
A
you
lot of
are her
money.
supervisor, but the thing is, what really this speaks to is when I was looking into it, every time I asked anybody, just show me your policy and procedure and your check off.
Nobody.
And even Keith being the controller should have been involved in this. That's why we have controllers. Like at any of the places where I worked before, the controller would always be involved in a check for 100,000, surely. It's just, we don't have many policies and procedures in the township hall, and that has to be addressed. So when you're doing an audit and the audit's all about financial statements and the validity of the financial statements, you're not making any determination on our internal controls. And another thing I'm going to recommend is that we have an independent audit of internal controls, because this kind of stuff can't happen again.
I can respond to that. Is everybody done? To your point, Ms. Linkey, regarding all of the other information that is out there regarding, I saw the letter that you had sent to the board members with all that stuff listed out, and I did read through it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
And it does not change our conclusion. The fact of the matter is, at the time, the tone, the environment around here was the planning zoning administrator will take care of it. And I totally see where you're coming from, that it is documented in a zoning ordinance that this is the policy, that the treasurer is responsible. I don't think the treasurer even knew that she was responsible for it.
Not the current one.
I don't think anybody
Not our
knew.
current treasurer.
Right, not the
Let's
current one.
Be on the record.
Yes.
Yeah, well, okay, the past treasurer, I don't
Yes.
think she even knew that she was listed. Well, if she did or didn't, but hang on.
Okay.
The tone at the time was Laura, or whoever the administrator was going to look into it, make sure everything was done. But the problem is everybody after that just trusted her. And that's what we're saying is the root of the problem. You can't have that. The reason we have internal controls that people overlook each other is you need to inquire, you need to ask questions when you're signing a check for $100,000.
So
The
can we,
treasurer at the time should have asked more questions. I'm not alleviating her from any blame whatsoever.
and I would never let any of my employees that report to me be responsible for $100,000.
I'm not sure. what
Laura
that has-
reported to Ken. It's simple as that.
No, she
I'm not
didn't.
sure what
She
that
didn't.
has to
She
do
reported
with
to
it.
me until after to 18 months until after the check was sent. I had no idea that that check was ever sent
18
until
months after the
October
check
of.
was sent. True.
She,
That's-
okay,
That's the fact.
that's,
Okay.
she,
That
she
is
did,
correct.
okay. So Keith Lockey wrote to the board on January 24th, 24. I have no, and it's capitalized, oversight over the trust and agency fund and never have. It has always been under the purview of the treasurer with input from the building department. Again, I have no input into this fund and have never seen any records regarding the funds kept in trust. If this should be changed, the board will have to make the decision to move it from the treasurer. These are people that work here, Ken. And if they, there was another, Jack Nelson, who represented DG, who sent an email to the treasurer saying, once completed, DG would like to make application with you for a partial release of the bond. Can you let me know how to make such application release? This went right to Brenda. And Keith Lockey, historically, the treasurer, the building inspector, and an administrative clerk managed the escrow and bond accounts. Again,
They didn't
these
say
these
us,
people,
Laura.
these people work here. These people are here every day, and they thought the treasurer was the one that managed that. So I'm not getting what you're saying, that it's all these people.
I'm
If
sorry.
I can jump in for just one, I believe what might be, what is being said is that the treasurer's department, once money comes in, it is actually put into a spreadsheet. And then there are folders, let's say if it's DG, let's say if it's
Right.
Bernice Linky, then that escrow, they are kept in a locked file cabinet in the treasurer's office. And there's a running spreadsheet of how much money has come in. And so that in itself certainly is under the treasurer's purview.
Right. So when Infinity asked for that money, Lisa, someone should have gone to the original documents or the spreadsheet, and they would have seen that Infinity did not have that money there. I mean, that's where it could have been stopped.
I just wanted to.
No, I
just
get-
state for the
yes,
record that
yes.
when the money comes in,
Right.
it is actually put in a spreadsheet.
Right.
And yes, so
So
we know what
right.
account it's supposed to go in.
exactly. So the treasurer could have just looked at that spreadsheet and saw that there wasn't anything there. There wasn't anything for Infinity there.
But I don't think it was was it Infinity that requested or was
Yes,
it DG?
it was-
Okay,
it
I'm
was
just
Infinity.
stating,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
that
was- it
that's
was
how the money is
Infinity.
logged in when it first goes.
So all I'm saying is
It
this,
was in, it should have been, somebody should have paused at that moment. to say,
yes,
Infinity doesn't have an escrow.
Right.
account.
I paused it when a paper copy was put on my
Right,
desk,
but it-
not electronically.
what you paused was just when it was being
When it
investigated.
was right.
Yeah,
But you did, I mean, you couldn't you didn't pause 100,000.
I'm referring to the pause.
Okay, I think what we can do is, I don't feel comfortable putting all of that additional stuff into this part that's coming from us, but you have every right to put in your response to our comment and feel free to put anything that you'd like to put in there. And that this basically goes to the state of Michigan.
So this is what I'm going to say to you. I'm on my way out the door. I refuse to allow my name to be placed in or the clerk's office. I firmly do my job and I stand up to my job. And I believe with me and my staff, we do it well. And we have to deal with a whole lot of things that you would not believe what we deal with, but you do, because you had me fill out last year.
Fraud questionnaire.
Hello. So you have that questionnaire with all the things that I said to you that was going on in this township.
Yeah.
You choose not to deal with anything other than Hyundai. And then when you dealt with Hyundai and put it in last year's audit report, Ken was ticked off at you and made the comment, why did you do that? So and there were other things you should have put in there. I am not going out with my name in an audit report that I do not deserve to be in, and I don't appreciate it, Ken Polka. After all the things I've been sharing with you for 7+ years of the improprieties that has gone on in this township by certain officials. And it's not including the one that's sitting over on that table right now.
I'm sorry,
don't
Ms.
want to hear
Julie,
it.
I have no idea how to even respond to that.
I
would
guess
just-
you don't.
I would just recommend that.
It's for the record as it goes, as your report goes to.
Sure.
the
Yep. No,
state.
I understand that.
And I'm going to let the state know all the other things that have been going on. Because I
Please,
cannot
please.
believe what you have allowed to go on as an auditor that I've brought to your attention for 7+ years.
Well, I think it would be great if you would just put that in your response
I will.
to our letter.
I will.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue with the.
Okay.
report, Ken.
Are we good for that one?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Next one is the whole episode that happened in Lisa's office here. I think everybody knows what happened by now. Of the total, we were reimbursed everything but $2,500 by the insurance company, so that's good. And the other thing I just want to mention that Lisa did contact us as well as the police and everybody else she should have contacted. And our responsibility is to talk to the state about it. The state knows about it. So everything was done properly there. I guess I'd also just like to say this whole thing with the computers, being on the older side. At our firm, we have 30 some employees and we've got an IT guy that walks around and tells us, hey, if you get an email from someone you don't know, don't open that thing. And you know what? I still mistakenly do. It happens. And I'm not up here to defend Lisa. I just know she probably had a lot of stuff going on and this is what transpired. She went ahead and went with this email. But I think she's learned a lesson and I hope everybody else has learned. I know it beats it into my head also to be so careful with this stuff. I mean, it's just so rampant out there and it's just so sad, but that's the way that's the world we live in now. And the only thing we can say on this, as far as our conclusion as your auditors, again, you've got policies out there. And if you adhere to the policies, stuff like this won't happen. Okay. Our next comment, we do talk about these policies. I'll bet most of the board doesn't even know you have this book of policies out there. I know Lisa mentioned to me after our last meeting, she never knew these were out there. Miss Linke, she'd been saying to me now for years that we just don't have policies on this.
No, we have old policies.
Old
It was
policies. That's
from
what we've been saying.
2015.
Have you
Yeah,
seen
they're
the-
there and nobody
Yeah.
pays attention to them.
Okay.
But
well,
that's I don't know if the town, that's for the township officials to tell their employees or tell our employees to read them, right? And abide by them. And maybe they get training, right?
Well, that's what we're suggesting in our next comment, that the board put a committee together because these policies haven't been looked at since 2015.
She's been saying that for years. Right.
I've been saying that since.
It's
my
recorded
face
in the
flew.
minutes.
Right.
Okay.
So, I agree. I totally agree with that. And when I was at the MTA conference, I bought a book that Nancy called me about on policies. Like, and I thought maybe if we bring this back, people can look at it. You also have lots of other townships around here that have great policies. You don't have to make them, don't make them up. Why reinvent the wheel, as they say? So.
Right.
Pittsfield
Well, I think you
Township's
should
great.
go look at the policies that you have and build on them. The policies that you're not adhering to and you feel that it just isn't going to work with your personalities and the way the board members feel about these things, then get rid of it. But put a policy in there that will watch over monies and catch things and internal controls and follow those policies. So I guess that's just how we'll kind of end that discussion. Anything else that anybody would like to talk about as far as the comments go before we get into the
I would
numbers?
just like to say, I think that this kind of also reinforces something that I've said for a long time, the importance of communication amongst the officials. I've been asking since I've been a part of this board for the officials to get together at least once a week to talk shop about what's going on within the township. So, any big things, coming up, they could talk about these types of checks. And I think those are the things that would help. But when people are not talking and communicating, that's how we end up with $100,000 mistakes and $8,000 mistakes, because I'm not talking to Lynette, or I'm not talking to Ken, or I'm not talking to Lisa. That should never happen. And I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me as a trustee, and the most frustrating in that entire scenario, that $8,000 was because there was not a communication when someone is sitting in the office. So it has to be better, folks. It's the communication. 3 of you are here full-time in this office. Communication.
Very well taken, Ms. McGill.
So the last thing I want to say before you move on is that this whole thing to me supports the fact that we need to have a controller here, not in Florida, but here. And when you say that Ann Arbor, that the Ann Arbor Township does the financial statements, and it's the Woodhill Group, Colleen, whatever, Coogan, we could do the same thing here. They could come in. I was told by the Ann Arbor Township clerk that they're very good, that they come in as needed. We need someone here that could have helped in some of these issues, and someone who could help us with policies and procedures. A controller can help, especially financial ones.
Absolutely.
That's what this tells me, and I think it should be done sooner than later.
Much sooner.
Okay. I'll move on to the numbers. I haven't heard anybody snoring behind me, so.
This is very exciting information, I think.
Well, I'm glad you think so, Bernice.
It is.
Okay, so let's open up our audit reports. And I'd like you to turn to the audit opinion, if you will. And this is right after the table of contents. I just want to remind the board that this 2-page letter is really what you're paying the auditing firm for. This is the opinion. Now, you also pay us to write the financial statements, but really the meat and potatoes of this is this opinion right here. And our opinion starts in the first paragraph, the sentence, that big long sentence. In our opinion, blah, 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 the financial statements present fairly in all material respects. And as Ms. Linke brought up earlier, that's what we're auditing, to make sure your numbers are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. When you hand this report to the bondholders, if you have bonds out there or any type of debt, this gives them assurance that somebody looked at your numbers and verified that there's no nothing that shouldn't be in there. Okay, as far as overstating assets, liabilities, revenues, expenditures, and so on. Well, that's what you're really paying us for. So let's look at the numbers. And the first page I'm going to have you turn to is page 21. And this is a recap of all of the township's funds, except for water and sewer. Now, in governmental accounting, all of your funds except for water and sewer are treated as governmental funds. Your water and sewer is treated as a regular type business. So on page 21, you can see all of these surpluses that you had, losses that you had in some funds, and so on. So the very first fund that you see there is the general fund. You had total revenues of just over 3.4 million. You spent just over 3.3 million. Okay. So your increase in your fund balance was almost $100,000. That was your surplus for the year. You started the year with a fund balance of 2.7 million and finished the year with just over 2.8 million. So when you compare that 2.8 million in fund balance, it's essentially the cash that you have in your coffers, to your total expenditures, you're almost at 100% of 1 year's expenses. Okay, which is good shape. It's better shape than most municipalities. Your next column over is your fire fund. And you had a loss there of 323,351. You started the year with 2.7 million and you ended the year with 2.4 million. Now, this is the second year that this fund has incurred a loss. So I would suggest that we watch the fire department closely. Okay,
That was due to overtime.
I know there's a lot of payroll going out the door.
We had a guy who was off a year with a broken back, so,
Yeah,
we got loaded up on overtime for 2 years, but this year, not so much.
still having a 2.4 million fund balance, that's a good, healthy fund balance, but to see 2 losses in a row like that, just kind of keep an eye on things. Your law enforcement fund, you had a nice surplus of almost 792,000. So you finished the year with almost 2.8 million in that fund. Your ARPA fund, this one's a little bit of a different animal. With the ARPA monies, we're required to account for it differently. You received like 1.5, 1.6 million in total. That money came into your coffers a few years ago, but we don't recognize that as revenue until you actually spend that money. So your revenues and expenses will always equal, except for your investment income. That would be on top of that. So last year, your overall surplus in the ARPA fund was 6,972. You started the year with $1,500 and finished the year with 8,424. However, if you look back at the balance sheet on page 19, in your ARPA fund itself, you have over 1.3 million still in there. And I was happy to see that the township board has decided, and hopefully you'll have it obligated by the end of the year for various purposes on which you plan on spending that money.
And as I said to you, when you met with the 3 officials, which I'm surprised you're not saying now, it is obligated to the community center initiative.
Okay. I think there's still some that wasn't obligated, if I remember.
All of it's obligated.
Okay. You have signed contracts for that?
No, what I'm saying is that,
We had a resolution.
Yeah,
but he should know that because we sent him all the resolutions.
Right. No, I see that, but
The money will be spent. And that's what I shared with you when you met with the 3 officials and you acknowledged that.
no, I acknowledge that you had decided what you were going to use
We
it.
can't spend the money until until we get the agreement. And there's some people trying to hold that back, but we're gonna have a community center.
But
And that's when the money will be spent, Ken Polka.
okay, but just so that I can just respond to that, Ms. Bentley, the fact of the matter is the federal government says you have to have it obligated by December.
It is obligated.
It's only obligated when you have a signed contract.
It will be by December 24th.
Good enough.
I said that in the meeting.
Good enough. So I'm sorry, in total, on page 21, your total surplus for all of the funds for the township were at $473,860. So it was a good year for the township. And the township has had several good years in the past. Okay, when you throw everything in there together, almost $500,000 surplus. So you finished the year with almost 9.2 million in your fund balance. Okay, good
But,
shape.
Ken, that's with the loss with that's taken into consideration, that loss with the fire funds. So-
Correct.
okay.
Yep. All that
So
adds
that
up
just
into
rolls
that.
on.
Yep. Okay, then your water and sewer fund, which you go to page 24. Your total operating revenues were almost 4.8 million. Operating expenses were just a little over 5 million, but you have to be cautious when you see your operating expenses being so much more than operating revenues. There's this item called depreciation, which is a non-cash item, and it's basically looking at all of your infrastructure, your capital assets, if you will, and writing those off between 30 to 50 years, depending what kind of asset those are. All right, so that big depreciation number in there was 765,847. Does everybody see where I'm looking at in your operating expenses?
Yeah.
So if you pulled that depreciation out of there, your surplus, your operating surplus would have been almost 500,000. Okay. And then on top of that, we throw in our non-operating revenues and expenses, which totaled 1.4 million to the good. And the biggest chunk of that is the 1,242,000, which is called the contributed capital by developers. This is always a hard concept for people to understand. When a developer comes into your township and he puts in water and sewer lines, pumps, whatever else you require him to put in to build that development, that all gets added to your infrastructure, okay? You're the ones that have to take care of it. You have to maintain that. So we have to record that as revenue coming into the township, and then that will also get depreciated over the years. But it's a non-cash type item that comes into the township, all right? So when you throw that in there, your overall change in net position was $1,154,350. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Your net position started at 22.3 million and you finished the year with $23,448,000. Your overall net position, and that includes your infrastructure. Now I'm going to show you the next page, which I think is the most important page for the whole water and sewer system. And this is on page 25. And this is what we call a cash flow. As I mentioned earlier, your water and sewer fund is a business. It's treated like a business. So everything's full accrual, receivables, payables, all that non-cash stuff. This cash flow takes only the cash that came in and only the cash that went out. And it's good to see, as an outsider looking in, it's good to see that your cash coming in from operating activities were over $1.1 million. Okay, so that tells us your rates are good. You've got enough to bring in to pay for all of the other things that are going to be going out of here by 1.1 million. The other categories that we have are your capital and financing activities. Okay, you had over 886,000 get paid out, and that was for the acquisition of fixed assets to pay back bonds. You can see all the other items in there. You had tap-in fees that came in for over 237,000. When you net all of that together, it was a negative 886,377. The point I'm getting at, by bringing in the 1.1 million, you were able to pay for all of that. So we're always happy to see that the township stays on its rates, and we've got some municipalities that wait several years before they bump their rates up. And at that time, they've got to bump them up 20–30% versus the 3 or 4% that you do annually.
Mary Burton does a great job in bringing us adjustments with,
She does.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Mary out there.
she does an outstanding job.
She's very good.
Yes.
Yeah, SIO got into that problem. They got to bump theirs up 25. They're not too happy about that out there.
Okay, let's see what we look at next. Flip to your very last page. And this is kind of the page I like to recap the water and sewer department with. And this shows just your operating accounts, if you will, your revenues and your expenses, cash money going out. And you can see over the past, we compare all the way back to 2017, you've always had surpluses in here. So that gives you the cash available to stick in reserves to be able to pay debt, to be able to pay emergency expenditures that come up, to pay these contingencies that you're going to have coming up, and so on. So you do have a good, healthy cash balance in your water and sewer fund. It's better than what I see in most water and sewer districts. So it's very good to see. I think that's about what I wanted to cover on the numbers. And I think, Landis, are you able to put our graphs up on the... This is what I call our coloring books, if you will. It's a little bit of a different presentation method instead of just looking at numbers. I know some people get a better perspective this way. Can you flip on? Thanks, Landis. So this is a pie chart of where your revenues come from into your general fund. And I always thought it was interesting, at least when I first started auditing governmental units, to know that most of your money comes from sales tax. That's the state revenues that come through. And then you can see your taxes coming in. Interest, you had almost $100,000 in interest and rents come in. Various other sources come in of just over 284,000 and so on. You flip to the next one, Landis. And then your expenditures going out. Now, your big one out here is your public works, roads, your pathways, everything that went out of the general fund, what we list as public works. And you can see the detail to all these expenditures in the financial statements under the general fund. You can see the transfers out that you made, 400,000, 401, 284 that went to the Parks and Rec Fund. Thank you, sir. This is my favorite graph. Gives a comparison all the way back to 1999 where your general fund balance has been. And you can see over the past 3 years, you've had a nice steady growth upward. So you're just over $2 million in your general fund balance. Exciting stuff, huh? Okay, this is your water and sewer fund. The blue column representing your revenues and the red column representing monies going out. So it's good to see pretty much every year your revenues exceed expenditures when you pull out your depreciation. Sure. Okay, here's your overall fund balance for the general fund, 2.2 million. And you can see 1.3 million of it is all undesignated. And then you have your designated amounts. Give you an idea where you have things. Parks Fund, they have over just under 636,000 in their fund balance. And they have their designations also. And again, these designations that you see here is what we were talking about in our first comment under other matters.
Ken, you flipped kind of quickly. I wanted to ask you about the future budget deficits.
Good question. What happens is when we have to look at your budgets that were approved for the next fiscal year, and if you're showing a loss in there, if you will, you've got to get that money from somewhere. So that's where it's coming from. Your beginning fund balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From future.
Yeah.
Coming from fund balance, right?
Right. Yeah, because you'd have no revenues coming in to take care of that. Thanks, Landis.
Thanks.
Fire fund. So more than half of it's undesignated. And they've got a significant amount for compensated absences. And that was one of the things, is Mr. Lockheed in with us?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He's on the call.
Yeah, we were going to talk about, there was a change in what we call our GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and it was with your accrued payroll. In the past, the only fund that would accrue its payroll and compensated absences was the water and sewer fund because it's treated like a business. We're now required to accrue compensated absences in all of your funds, okay? In doing that, we also accrued your regular payroll, all right? Because it was a significant amount and we would have been over the materiality level, so we had to record all of that. So you'll see some areas that you actually went over budget a little bit because of those payroll accruals, all right?
So
I'm not sure if Mr. Lockheed wants to talk a little bit more about that.
Use Rhonda's mic.
So while
Please.
he's thinking about it, with the undesignated 1.3 million for fire, I know that the chief was talking about a new building, for instance. So that amount could
The
potentially.
board could say, hey, well, let's earmark some of this for the building, correct?
Keith, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Well, are there any questions for me? The utility department has always been on a full accrual basis. It was the government funds who was not. Well, there's a caveat. We did not accrue payroll in utility department either, but we did accrue paid time off. So that did hit the utility funds this year.
Can you read that, Ken?
Yeah. Okay, yep, so I think Keith is saying that they also did not accrue the payroll in the utility fund, but because of the compensated absences, we did do it for this year, correct, Keith?
Correct, but we've always accrued the paid time off in utility department.
So that was
Unlike-
one of.
Unlike the
changes.
government funds.
Correct. You can flip back to the graphs. Thanks, Landis. I'll go back to the fire department there, Landis, if you would, please. So they do have, Chief does,
He's here.
Chief does have building, he does have a portion designated for building, 471,876.
Okay, but we all know that his building would cost a heck of a lot more than that. So,
I'd pay for a pickup truck nowadays.
so what I'm asking is, you could use some of that undesignated.
Sure, absolutely. You know, I forgot that he had some already in a building fund, so at least you've got it, something started there. Yes, sir. Oh, and this is your building fund itself, speak of the building fund. Yeah, they just have a small portion for compensated absences. And the rest of it's all undesignated,
So this is our building department.
right?
So what do they use their undesignated for generally?
Cars, equipment, things like that.
You're talking to your mic, Ken.
Here.
You have to talk in front of you.
They'll use them designated for vehicles,
Your mic,
any
yeah.
equipment, payroll, but when you get to this point here, you have to think about perhaps lowering fees because you don't want to just have fund balance piling up if you can't justify the cost. So some communities have rolled their fees back if they've been that high.
Can they use it? And I'm just, people are complaining about the old township hall. Could you use some of it to repair that? I'm just, or
I
is that,
defer to Ken on that.
Ken?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Landis.
That's it.
Is that it, Ken?
Mhm.
That's all I have. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about or?
I want to ask one question, Ken. If there's going to be like a response to Lansing regarding your audit, how is that handled? Does the board need to approve it? Can individuals write it? How's that work?
Yeah, it would be good if the board approve, or if the board approves Ms. Finley and Ms. Linkey to write the response, and then, so we don't have to have another meeting. And as long as you allow them to send us whatever you feel the response.
Due on Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, the reports are due. I believe we can get them in by Monday because the 30th lands on Sunday.
So we have until Monday to get something in.
Well, it would be,
report.
sometimes it takes a day or two to get things to them. Like I heard today, the state's website crashed because everybody's sending in their reports.
So can you send in the adjustments to the report at a later date, or does that have to come in at the same time as the report?
Yeah, I'll have to call the state tomorrow to find out if we can send them the regular audit report and let them know that the comments will be coming in at a later date and see what they say.
So there were some things in the actual audit that I thought could be corrected if you look on page 13. You talked about, it talks about in 2022, the township purchased a significant conservation easement in the amount of 2.4 million. We did not purchase a conservation easement, then we purchased the rock property. So it was really land.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this says that's a big difference.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it.
What page are you on?
That's on 13.
So change conservation easement to land, then, is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah, it was, or you could put, I think there's 306 acres.
Yeah, no, you have to wait until pleas and petitions.
You can't comment during the meeting. You have to at the end on the agenda. We're sorry. That's just meeting protocol.
So I think.
Oh.
You done?
Just one other thing. On page 50, there's
50?
page 50, it's we're getting that same risk statement again about custodial risk, which relates to this not having sweep accounts. It's you talk about deposits, custodial credit risk.
Right.
This is the risk that in the event of a bank failure, the township will be able to recover its deposits. I would really, every year I say this, that there are many townships that have a sweeping, use that sweep account app, whatever that program is. I know it changed.
Insured cash sweep.
I highly recommend that we do this year. We talk about it every year.
We looked into doing it and, yeah, and there were some banks that.
So speaking your mind, please.
We've
Thank you.
looked into doing it and the banks that we bank with did not have it. And the one that did, the cost of it was very high. So we had you remember that now? Yes. And so we had a meeting with another bank probably last week or 2 weeks ago, but that was right
You're
around the
still
time.
exploring.
We're pretty much done exploring. It's just that I needed to get millage rates and tax bills completed. So that was a
All right.
priority.
That's all right.
And
But
so Ken Polka and I have had this conversation and
Good.
so we just haven't concluded it because we had to put it on a back burner for.
Right. And
little
if
bit.
is it Genoa Township? Am I saying that right?
Genoa.
So they have a very, very good policy. Maybe we could, I talked to the woman you recommended.
Right.
They were pretty pleased with it and it didn't seem to cost that much. So
Yeah.
I would just recommend, again, checking with another township that uses it. Because banks do fail. We know that we saw it in 2008.
Are there any more questions by the board of the auditor? Seeing none, I'd recommend that we have a motion to approve the audit and to send it to Lansing. Ken will find out if we have opportunity beyond Monday to send a response. And you can get back with us on that. And if we only have until Monday, we'll have to get the response done.
Is it possible to send the bulk of the audit except for that escrow?
That's what I need to ask them.
That's what I would like to do is just hold back on the escrow audit.
I support that.
Everything else.
So we know, Ken, is that acceptable to the state to send it all but the escrow
That's what
portion?
I have to check on.
Okay.
I'll have to call them first thing tomorrow.
All right.
Find out.
All right, we got motion and support on the table. Why don't we call the vote? All in favor of the motion, which is to approve the report, subject to Ken checking on the escrow and whether that needs to be sent as part of this, and also any objection letters or however response letters, whatever they're called.
Support.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Thank you, Ken.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on and we will have Paul Ruthenberg from Priority here, who will give a presentation about what's happening with the GFL account and what Priority is going to do. And then we have to approve the transfer or the assignment of the contract to Priority, but we can't unreasonably withhold it. We'd have to really have good reasons not to do that. So Paul, go ahead. You can address the board.
Thank you, Supervisor. Good evening, Board. Landis, let it roll. Again, I am Paul Ruthenberg with Priority Waste. As you all are well aware that there has been an acquisition by Priority Waste of all of the municipalities that GFL currently hauls in this part of the state. 73 in total. That will include over 500 pieces of equipment that we'll be taking control of. But I would like to start, if you don't mind, with this presentation because I think it kind of answers some questions going forward and we can go that way if nobody minds. So again, that's a really neat slide of Priority Waste, Landis. This is again a welcome letter from Priority Waste. I'm just going to kind of like go through some of these because it's kind of fluff. Oh, yeah, there's trucks. We have all kinds of trucks, so there you go. And this is a team of smiling, happy employees. Keep in mind where to the far right where it says customer service. Go ahead, Landis. And this is again our goals and aspirations as far as our company footprint and how we leave this market. Please, Landis. Again, happy people. Go ahead, Landis. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. All cameras at Priority Waste are equipped with 4 to 6 cameras that face outward. I'm not sure if anybody's seen about 2 months ago where one of our crews actually saw a burning house in Warren, and we were able to save the lady in there. But at the same time, what really was neat, and most people didn't notice it if they saw it on the news, is that most of that footage was from our cameras on our trucks. So we had one facing the driver, his reaction. That's very common in our industry to have one facing the driver. But all the other outward facing cameras mean a lot. And this is where Todd Stamper, our CEO, saw this and saw the whole trash industry and said, what happens if we combine high tech with garbage collection? We also have GPS live routing software, which I'll touch on a little later. And then we also have the LDC program in the pit. LDC stands for Lead Driver Coordinator. It's Lead Driver Coordinator. I will refer to them going forward as the LDCs. The pit is the priority integrated technology area in our building in Clinton Township, our headquarters. I would like to invite anybody at this point, if you'd like to schedule and visit Clinton Township, it is really, really a neat place to go. Please, Linus. This is a shot of some of the cameras operating on the truck at one time. As you can see, the 360 degrees of camera. There's also one that's facing the hopper of the truck, and I can get to that as well. That guy down there in the middle is Matt Lang, our IT director, and he's pointing to the actual screen, which is about 90 foot long. If you've ever seen a DTE's outage center or something like that, or a NASA, that's basically what it looks like. Mammoth screen with all types of things going on that. Please. Okay, this is GPS routing. And, that's nothing unique to the industry. GPS has been there for a long time. When I owned my company, I had GPS. The difference is who's looking at it. Okay, please, Lance. This is a picture of one of our inside of our cabs of our trucks, and you can see a tablet that is mounted on the truck. And there you see actually a gentleman named Dan Benet talking to the driver. That is something that the LDC can and does often, where they can come on live and just, eyeball to eyeball, talk to that driver. Now that tablet also, when that driver enters the truck and fires it up, that tablet automatically produces his or her route for the day. Start here, end there. They're also online with that lead driver coordinator or LDC. So what we have the capability of doing is every truck that comes into Superior Township, the LDC will be able to literally watch the screens and all the cameras to see exactly what it is that the driver is looking at any given time.
I'm sorry, may I ask, is that almost like OnStar?
Yeah, I guess
it's a
so.
live-
I've never heard it compared to that, but that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that. I might use it again if you don't mind. And I have to tell you, I've been doing this for 40 years, longer than 40 years, but if I say over 40, I feel older, so I just don't do that. I really was resistant to this. I was brought up in a family-owned business, boots on the ground of the way it happens. I was proved massively incorrect. And if we think about it, you can have a supervisor in a pickup driving around Superior Township. Superior Township is big and it's scattered. Okay. So what can that supervisor in that pickup see at any given time? One street. We have the capability of looking at every street, where it's been for the last 6 days. We can go back 6 days with this technology at once. The GPS tracking is incredibly crucial because you need to be watching it to see if you see 2 lines down every street, meaning that the truck went down one side, picked up and went down the other side. Cross streets, they have to be watched. So the LDC and the driver connect in the morning. You will have your own LDC, incidentally. It's not an LDC covering 40 other communities. The The driver must contact that LDC before leaving Superior Township so that the LDC can double check. It takes about 3 minutes. At that point, that driver is released as long as there is no outgoing complaints or other issues that have to happen in Superior Township. Please, Lannis. I love Lannis, man. He's cool. You know, this is actually a picture of the pit. Okay. You can see the stadium seating. There's about 5 rows behind those LDCs that you presently see. What you will notice is that a lot of our LDCs are actually younger generation. And I've only guessed that it's intriguing because it is a little bit like playing a video game. They're all over the place with these trucks and what have you. Also over by the windows is an area that I call Google because they have their own slushy machine, their own soda machine, their own ping pong table, their own Xbox games and what have you. But that is really what I would love to show anybody at corporate. Picture does not do that justice. Here's another one. This was last week's numbers. Our average hold time, by the way, that's Jody, Savannah, and Renee. Our average hold time for a resident calling into Priority Waste is 15 seconds before one of those 3, and now more because we're adding 73 communities, will pick up the phone. You will say, I'm from Superior Township. You will be transferred to the Superior Township LDC. Please. Average call time for a resident calling in over a question, concern, complaint is 1 minute and 17 seconds. These numbers are unprecedented. One back, Landis. Also, one neat thing about that pit screen is there is this, you've just seen a bunch of pie graphs from Ken. There is a pie graph which actually combines all of the call time and wait time so that all of the LDCs know exactly where they're at. Please, again. Now, this is a customizable portal. What will happen with that portal is that our IT department will come out, we'll meet with township officials. You will decide exactly what is important to the township for this administrative portal. This is for the township administration. Most communities want, obviously, their complaints and the resolutions tracked. They also want volumes. You know, what's being pulled, what's being recycled, volumes. Most contracts throughout the years that I've seen says that you'll supply it on a monthly basis. The difference is your portal will supply that live day to day. So anytime you go in, what that LDC is entering into that system flows to your own portal. Okay. The residents will have on prioritywaste.com, they will have a drop down. They click on Superior Township. It'll offer up if they need another can, if they have a question or concern. In other words, if they just don't want to talk to somebody, they can do the same thing over the Priority Waste website. And these are just more types of graphs and what have you that you'll see with your portal. Please, Linus. And another one. Municipalities that we currently serve. There you go. Our service area is growing because of the GFL acquisition, but as you can see, we are mainly in southeastern Michigan. We also just opened a yard in Toledo, Ohio, and we have some communities in Indianapolis that we're hauling. This is our additional yards, transfer stations. Corporate is in Clinton Township again. I should say in 2021, I started with Priority. We had 4 communities. Prior to this acquisition, we had 43. We have not been behind in any community of our 43s in my tenure. And again, just some contact information. Thanks, Landis. So let's cover one thing. You had a bill? Right. And when did you get that bill? Okay. And I'll bet you really don't feel like paying them. I'm just kidding. Priority Waste will send a bill.
You guys speaking to the mic.
I'm sorry. Priority Waste will be sending a bill. Okay, so hold off. We're gonna tell you at this point, right now, the information that I got was to not pay the GFL bill, wait for your priority waste bill.
Hmm.
I don't really speak for GFL. I can't, I don't know how that operation works at GFL.
I hate to tell you, this is recorded and the public needs to hear what you're saying. So whatever you're saying, you need to come to the mic and say, or you can repeat what he's saying.
How's this?
Thank you.
I believe the notice we got was an intent to bill in a few days. And so you could withdraw your payment information on record and then they couldn't charge you.
This gentleman wants to say something also.
Max about the cameras.
So we shouldn't be.
Yes. I was just wondering about the cameras on your guys' trucks. What exactly, I understand it's for convenience and service purposes, but for starters, we won't even let the police have license plates readers in Ypsilanti, so I'm not sure why we would be okay with the 360-degree view from garbage trucks. And my second question is, we also had a huge issue a long time ago when Google Maps was first deploying. They weren't allowed on a lot of streets out in our communities. Google knows data, no disrespect, a whole lot better than I'm sure anyone you can employ. So how can I trust that you won't get hacked one day in the future on my personal identifiable information? All the details recorded outside my house from your 360-degree cameras won't be in the hands of some bad actor.
Sir, can you state your name, please, and where you live?
Apologies. My name is Samuel Hayes. I live in Superior Township.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question. And to be honest with you, I have not heard that question before. Okay. Yeah, well, they may catch up. Exactly. But I will follow up on that. I have not heard that question. What I have seen out of the camera services is that they basically are aimed at mostly the curbside and what have you. But you're absolutely correct. It could pick up an address. Right, right.
Thank you.
All right, so
Okay.
we need to have,
Yeah.
thank you, Sam, but we're gonna need
But I
to.
will follow up with that. Thank you.
I do have questions. And I'm sorry, he should have waited with his question too
Mhm.
until pleas and petitions. And you will be here, right, until pleas and petitions, hopefully, to the end of the meeting?
But we don't have
Excuse me.
petitions.
Well,
I am actually,
Public-
I'm
we'll
actually.
make it.
expecting
We should have
another-
had something on the agenda. Can you wait till the end? So people-
I actually have expected another meeting tonight, so I unfortunately will not be able to stay until the end.
Well, the residents need to, but I do have questions too. How long has your tenure been? You said since your tenure there has not been complaints. How long have you been?
Since January 1st, 2021.
Okay,
And I have 38 years prior to that of owning my own trash business.
so can they see with these cameras, can they see the waste that may be dropped from the trucks?
Yes,
And then,
and we can see hydraulic oil.
mhm.
We can see a compost can being thrown away in a hopper by one of our employees. And we can also see when we get the call that they picked up everybody but mine.
Mhm.
We can also tell if that can was actually out there at what time we came by.
So the three people you had on the screen, the actual human beings that take the calls where our residents aren't waiting 20 minutes, an hour,
Right.
15 minutes. Are they local?
Oh, yeah,
Very good.
they're, Jody lives in Shelby.
Okay.
They.
It's
they're
not a
very local.
call center in Texas.
We are
or what?
all in Clinton Township. I am actually out of the Romulus yard.
Okay, okay. And how different are you than other waste companies?
Well, that's
But
why
they-
I showed you the
I
technology.
know that, but still, you're saying no one else has that?
No one else has it.
Okay.
There
are
is,
my
it has
questions.
been commonplace in the past for the GPS and has been commonplace in the past to have one aimed at the driver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few questions as well. Looking at your reviews on Google, there are some concerns with regards to trash pickup, skipping of trash. There was somebody who had a complaint about, you all started with them on May 1st, they hadn't shown up, and these are all within the last month. Your rating at this currently on Google is 2.4 out of 5 stars. How can we have some level of assurance and comfort in what you're telling the board tonight, that we will not have a continuation of what we have had from GFL as an ongoing issue?
Okay, first thing first, we are not GFL. Okay.
You own that.
Secondly, I will be happy to forward over tomorrow morning a list of all of our references and reference letters. You are more than welcome to call any of these communities. As far as Google goes, I'll tell you, one of my favorite quick stories was I saw something on Facebook that the lady said, hey, they stickered my can because it was too heavy. And in parentheses next to it, she put down, it wasn't. Okay.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean it's correct, that she's correct. It means that that was her opinion. If we went through a 3-minute episode to sticker a can for improperly put out there, it is much faster for that loader or that employee to dump that can, which takes about 15 seconds if they can. Okay, so we encourage to find a reason to pick it up, not a reason to leave it. The encouragement is actually the sticker system and the reporting system for those, because that is much more timely for that crew than to simply find a reason to pick it up.
Okay. The next question I have is with regards to your trucks. Do they have a lift? Is it like a lift type thing where you pull it out and then it lifts it up and dumps it in?
Yes, we have rear load packers, which will pick up the compost and any bulk items and what have you. We have trucks that are called pythons, which are side loaders, where they have an arm right out of the side of the truck. And then the other trucks are Corrado trucks, which has the bin in front with the arm, and that comes up and dumps, similar to that. It depends on what it is that the application is. I should point out to you, though, that starting off on Monday, we will be using the GFL equipment. Okay.
That breaks down.
We are well aware of we have been looking at their equipment, from what I understand, for the last 2 months on the weekends.
Okay.
What I understand is they have great brakes. Yeah.
Will we receive new trash bins or?
No, everything will stay in place. What our intention is through this assignment is to follow the letter of your contract. Okay. What our intention is to get the complaint margin down as far as we humanly can in the quickest amount of time. That is our intention. It is obviously we cannot possibly have all of the cameras put on 500 trucks overnight. The GFL will be running, from my understanding, they'll be running through Sunday to present to us when we take over current routes.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Being an old garbage man, I've seen plenty of stuff. So what our intention is with Superior Township is to get you relief as quickly as we humanly can. You to be sure about this, with this LDC program, you have the full attentiveness of the company, because if that LDC has an issue, they're located in corporate headquarters. So the way that I'd like you to look at this is that you're part of the whole of what we do. Okay. And what we do, I'm very proud of.
What is your communication plan to roll out for the community, to let them know about this transition? What role would we as the township need to be? Are we expected to take part of any? Because
Yes.
there feels like you all are saying you're starting.
That's a
on
really
Monday,
good
and
question.
We don't know. I didn't know you're starting on Monday. So, and I'm the trustee. So
Well,
I'd like to know what's going on.
as long as this contract is assigned tonight, we will be beginning on Monday. Okay. GFL, as of the end of their routes, completion of the routes, will not have assets to service any residential customer as of Monday. We will be taking possession of all, good, bad, ugly, of all of their assets as far as residential collection is concerned.
Will you all relabel the bins? Because that is in our contract.
It was in your contract for GFL to relabel the bins.
Absolutely.
Did they ever get around to any of it?
Never got around to it.
I will ask on that and get back.
Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm impressed with your services. You have been servicing Redwood.
Thank you.
And I even stopped one of your workers and said, go back and tell you guys that you are so much more impressive than GFL and you're doing a great job. And I think you also service Bromley condominiums.
Mhm.
Without fail, you have been extremely timely. So I've shared that
Which is
already.
great. That's a smaller area than the.
I know,
entire
I
township,
agree.
so
I'm not,
gonna be
I'm just
holding
saying.
Fire on.
I'm just saying,
making
and then
sure
he's
that-
been there for a year
Yes.
and whatever. That's all.
3.5 years.
All right,
Just-
Bernie.
Just real quick. So you're saying that anything in the GFL,
Speak in your mic, please.
anything in the GFL contract will be honored by
Mhm.
priority.
Yes.
So like refuse, my niece is in another township and she just got you guys. And she said, you're great, but for some reason you're not picking up curbside pickup if they contact you. And I told her I would ask about it and I'll
That's
tell
in the
her.
contract.
Quickly, could I ask which township?
Where is she? Macomb, well, it's Macomb County. I don't know what.
Yeah, and I have to apologize. That's completely out of my area.
Okay, okay.
But at the same time, call us,
Yeah, she
let
did.
us know. But now what I do find, and please don't take offense to this, there are rules that the residents think they know, and then there are actual rules.
Sure.
Okay, so one thing where these cameras do come in handy is to see if that brush was bundled, to see what is out there for bulk collection and what have you. So,
So if there's requirements like bundling, things like that.
yes.
Again, communication
Mhm.
is gonna be key. When can we expect that communication to be distributed?
The communication that we have right now, and that again, I meant to speak to that earlier. The issue is that because this deal has not been closed, GFL being a publicly traded company is under control as to what we actually communicate. Okay, I do have tomorrow morning, which I will send over a flyer type of communication that I would suggest you get on cable. And any other way that you can get out there. I will also be providing to the township, who the LDC would be, the name, the number, questions about front end loader requests or roll off requests. Any type of request like that. We have been told that we should receive that because again, every communication has to be approved.
Mhm.
We should receive that by tomorrow morning.
Well, and this is my last question. Sorry, I'm peppering you with questions, but
That's fine.
the LDC
Lead driver coordinator.
coordinator, I assume you are over the LDC, so would you be the escalation point or is there someone?
I certainly am happy to be, after how many years I have in this business, thousands of residents have my number.
Mm.
Okay. I've never been shy about my phone number. I am actually a municipal rep. That is my title. Mainly because after 38 years of having trucks running around in my head doing logistics, I asked to do this specific job. So I am literally the conduit between the township and the company. So if you have a problem, please email, call, text, whatever. I will make sure it's handled.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions by the board? I just have a few. So this is primarily for the residents. The rates will remain the same.
Yes.
Until October, then they can go up as per the contract with GFL. The pickup days will remain the same.
Yes.
The one thing that we didn't get with GFL, I'd like to talk to you about is once in a while, a little roadside pickup. We get somebody who dumps a mattress. Could we get some help picking that up occasionally?
We do that all the time.
All right. I'll talk to you about that. How about bulk pickup for our residents? Do they have a refrigerator, a washer?
We'll be following your contract as far as that goes. I think you have a 2-item limit.
I think Rhonda had already addressed that and asked that question.
Right, but see,
But
here's the thing is that GFL said just put it out with your regular trash. Do we need to contact on a bulk pickup?
No,
No.
put it out with the regular trash.
Regular trash.
Yes.
So and then I guess based on, can you help me with one thing? Does this all change in October?
No, what changes is the rates in October.
That's in the contract?
What would
Yes.
be the difference in the rates in
Yeah, what
October?
would the difference in rates?
Oh, I think it goes up by like 75 cents or something.
If I'm assuming we're in year one right now of GFL's con.
Or
You're-
two.
You're in two. So currently that's at $17.87 per unit per month or $53.61 per quarter. That rate will go up in year three to $18.50 per unit per month, or $55.50 per unit.
Right.
Per quarter.
Yeah. So, on compost, we never received compost bins. We always instructed people to put it in the craft bags. Is that
Absolutely.
okay? So that's
32 gallon container, up to 32 gallons,
okay.
or the craft
Okay.
paper bags.
Now the accounts with GFL, are they going to send them to you, all the accounts, or are you guys how are you going to get?
Yes, believe me, this entire company is working on this project. That is a different division, payables and receivables, but they are getting the information necessary from GFL. If I have any problem at all, I will reach out to the township.
All right. So the LCD, will they be in the
LDC.
Will be in the township every day, or just
They're located in that pit in Clinton
Yeah.
Township. That
Okay.
is the physical place where the LDCs are.
Right.
Those trucks are in the township.
Right.
And they can see those trucks.
All right. You answered about the call center, the relabeling, and the portal. Will the residents have an opportunity to have their own portal with?
No, that is mainly for the administrative functions. Yes.
All right. Any questions? So could we get a motion? Can we get a motion to approve the assignment of the contract?
So moved.
Support.
Can we discuss?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure. Of course.
Okay, so I just wonder, is it possible to have like, all right, a 6-month contract, but review them in 4 months just to make sure everything's going well?
Well, if things aren't going well, I think we call them on the carpet.
Well, but it didn't, we were hearing about GFL right at the get-go.
Yeah, but GFL obviously was withholding information from us over time
Mhm.
and was not being an honest broker with us. And I would hope that if we're not satisfied after a few months or 4 months, that we'd call Paul back here and say, you need to get things straightened out, or we're going to consider it a breach of contract and we'll move on to somebody else.
Yeah, I really can't speak to how GFL's communicated with the township, okay?
Not
But
Poorly.
first thing I did was hand out my card to each and every one of you. My cell phone number's on there,
Okay.
okay? I have a good idea that I will know if anything is upsetting. Okay?
Yep.
Well, I had a contact with Mary Dean at GFL, and I must have sent her and Irma too 10 emails a day about missed pickups and everything else. So I'm looking forward to not having to deal with so many angry residents. And
So am I.
yeah. Okay, so we have a motion and support on the table. Is there anything else anybody wants to say?
I think just for me, I'm so jaded right now with
You got speaking to your mic.
I'm so
please.
jaded with the GFL situation. So if we approve this tonight, is this just for the 4 months that,
It's for the year.
Be for the remainder of the term, which is another 2 years.
okay. So Fred, where are you at? Hi, Fred. Question. With the change in the vendor providing the service, is it at all possible to renegotiate terms so that we're not stuck in a 2-year situation in the event that this is a less than desirable relationship? Sorry.
Yes, it's possible to renegotiate. I mean, I'm not saying to you that that's out of the question. I was kind of thinking that I don't know how much guys, seems to be the first time you've been briefed on this new company. It's your first exposure to them. It's the first time I've heard anything about them. And I believe that they're probably going to be very, good at their word, but GFL said they're going to be good at their word too.
Exactly.
My thought would be.
I'm sorry, this is our attorney, Fred Lucas.
My thought would be is that, and I would discuss this with these gentlemen, but my thought would be is, look, you need to have someone, they're taking over GFL immediately.
okay? You're gonna have to have someone picking up the trash immediately. But I would like to have a discussion with them and see whether or not they would be willing to do that, while we review everything here on some, on a basis where we say, okay, look, guys, we'll pay you, we'll do this. We just want some time to review everything. And how, can you give us 3 months, 2 months, whatever it is, to review that? And if that's the case, I mean, at that point, then we could have a more informed discussion about it, and we can also have seen how they have performed. There'd be some performance there. We could say, hey, you guys have done everything you're supposed to do. You said you'd do. We're happy with you. We'll renew the contract, and maybe we'll even renegotiate and make it for a longer contract,
Exactly.
Thanks.
So I honestly very rarely say this, but you should listen to your attorney. The
why-
point is this, and to your point, your attorney is absolutely correct. Okay, tonight is about the assignment of the contract so that Priority Waste can deliver necessary insurances and bonding and be here on Monday.
Mhm.
Okay? Without an assignment, GFL will have no assets to collect. Okay?
I guess what I was asking though is.
Mike, Fred.
What I'm asking is this, will your company agree that we have like for a 2-month period for an assignment so we can see how you perform? And then, you're gonna get paid. I mean, it's not like you're doing this for free or anything. But rather than a complete assignment at this time, and within that 2 months, if you perform properly, not only would we agree to assign the rest of the contract, but we'd also negotiate for a longer term contract with your company.
What I can say is that I'm a municipal rep. That is a decision for our CEO, Todd Stamper, to make.
Okay.
But that is something that we have heard from other communities is they wanted to extend for a year. And this is not the time for that. Once we get started, it's the time to go back and talk about it.
But rather than, what I'm saying is, right, they have to vote, what they're asking us, what you are asking them to do right now is to approve the transfer, okay, of the contract. And what I'm saying is more or less a provisional approval for a period of 2 months. If your people will agree to that, and we talk tomorrow and I'll talk to them about that, about doing that, but I just think that would make sense for the community so that they can get they don't know you guys. Okay, I believe everything you're gonna say, but then again, I believe in Santa Claus too.
Excuse
So-
me, Paul and Fred, I thought the question was 4 months. So you're going down to 2 months?
Whatever
Okay.
that period is.
Okay, I thought it was 4 months until October.
That's fine.
I was okay with us doing this through October to give, before the rates
That's
go
fine.
up or whatever. I'm sure you'd probably work faster than that, but.
Yeah, but whatever it is, look, they're getting paid. It's not as if they're, and the truth be told, if they do everything they're gonna say they're gonna do,
Exactly.
I can't believe that we're not gonna come back here and say, hey, guys, we're very happy with you, continue on. So if you would like us to talk to your
The CEO, yeah,
we'll do that tomorrow.
that's fine. All right.
Or you can get them on the phone tonight and I'll talk to them.
Yeah, because if I hear you correctly, we need to do something immediately in order to continue services. So you need to get on that phone with them.
Be here
Absolutely.
All right. Come Monday, and the residents are not gonna have garbage picked up.
Okay, so we have a motion and support on the table to assign the contract to GFL.
Priority Waste.
From GFL to Priority per the contract. And then we'll have a review at some point. We'll see if that, but I would say we.
What's on the
It's a
table, Karen?
provisional
It's
for
not
a
on the
provisional
table.
period.
Well, that's the motion on the table.
Right, okay, okay.
Put that on.
Yeah, that's the motion. I can't say, I don't think we can say provisional because that's not in the contract.
The only thing that I could speak, if you may mind, is I am here to gain an assignment so we can be here on July 1st. I am not authorized in any way to
Understood.
negotiate the term of the assignment
Yeah.
or anything like that.
We
We can cover that when we get going,
Right,
but for tonight, we need that assignment so we can provide insurances and bonding.
right.
That's right.
and trucks and people.
And if it turned out to be some sort of material breach down the line, we could always.
It's covered in your contract.
Yeah, we could always terminate the contract for a material breach.
Yes,
We'd
you
have
can.
to have that first. And as far as you could come back and talk to us in 3 or 4 months, we could all say, how is it going? Or where we could improve, or there's really big problems and we're going to have to think about continuing on with you. But tonight we should just assign the contract, get moving, and then deal with this at a later date.
So I like what what Fred just said. I think that we can vote on your motion, maybe vote that motion down and then offer another motion that says that we'd like a provision, whatever words, Fred, you think are.
That's a negotiation that I'm not allowed to accept.
Yeah.
So we're not saying,
That's outside the contract. The assignment provision in the GFL is to assign the contract. We can't unreasonably withhold it. It has nothing to do about renegotiating with the new provider. I think that's something we could perhaps do down the line with priority, but I think right now we need to do just the blanket assignment.
The only point I'm making
You
is,
must speak in the mic, Fred.
the only point I'm making is this. I agree with everything you said, Ken, and I agree with everything you said. You don't have the authority, but understand something. We don't, the basis upon which assignability is to be granted will not be unreasonably withheld, okay? I don't know at this point I'm not saying that there is reason to withhold it. I'm not saying that we don't have reason to or we do have reason to withhold it. I just don't know because we don't know anything about your company. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying is, and that's what I hear from the board is we don't know about your company.
Right.
So to say that it's being unreasonably withheld, I don't want to say that. I don't want to withhold the assignment. But on the other hand, can you see how the language says that, we have to, in order for us to, to approve the assignment or to approve it, we can't do it unreasonably. So I don't want them to come in here and say, well, we're not approving the assignment because we don't have any basis to say that you shouldn't be doing it. That's why I'm saying what I would really like is, look, the truth of the matter is if you perform as you say you're going to perform, the assignment's going to be approved. Because there would be no basis for us to withhold approval. But we just don't have any information at this point to support that. And all I'm saying is what I would like.
Brad, I disagree with you. And here's the reason why is if we did something like a provisional agreement and their bosses didn't like it, they could say, we're not going to serve as Superior. We don't have any garbage pickup next week.
I understand that.
Right.
That's
So
what I was asking. And look, if the choice is between, doing this and we don't have any garbage pickup next week, obviously we want garbage pickup next week.
Correct.
I'm just asking whether or not they would be willing to.
Have a
I think that should be a subsequent agreement after the assignment.
I think that Fred is saying exactly what I think
Mhm.
makes the most sense.
right.
is that
Mhm.
Me
But I
too.
understand what you're saying. And
You must speak into that mic, Fred.
I thought I was loud enough that everybody could hear me.
No, it's mic direct.
I understand. And all I'm saying is Ken, I understand. And if he says to me, and if he says, look, it's either you accept this or you're not going to have any garbage pickup on Monday, my guess is that's the choice we have. Now, I don't think it hurts to ask them what I'm asking them.
I do because, Fred, we have 2 days to get something done. If they were to reject the provisional, then we would have to call another meeting and accept.
No, or you can vote and say that if they will not agree to this, then you'll approve the assignment. I mean,
And that's why we,
That's fine. That's fine.
that's what we've been saying.
No, that's not.
So didn't you say that one of the other communities are doing the same thing? Didn't you say that some of the other communities wanted to have a little time where they,
They have asked.
okay, and what
Okay,
was the answer?
no. The point is that the reason I'm here, and believe me, I am not an attorney, I'm a garbage man. Okay? I am here.
People said that about me too.
Yeah, well,
Another joke.
So
I like that one.
I am here to get this contract assigned. Okay? In its entirety. In its entirety, as the supervisor has pointed out, there are clauses for out, for non-performance, which you can exercise. Okay? This is not the time or place to do that. What I cannot do any negotiating whatsoever. If you choose to change the assignment language, I cannot tell you at this point how corporate will respect that.
Let me make this proposal. Let me make this proposal relative to the motion. My suggestions be that you vote to approve the assignment and you authorize me or somebody to contact the CEO
Corporate.
Yep.
and discuss what I had said.
Exactly.
But otherwise, approve the assignment so we don't lose
Correct.
garbage services come Monday. And I'll talk to the CEO, or anybody else can talk to the CEO, and if he says.
That's fine, Fred. What you just said is fine, but that's not what you said at first. You said
So
that
I understand it.
provisional, and come back and look at.
But
They're
that's
not gonna
okay. We know that.
Contract in October, but
Wow.
I would like to have a subsequent agreement if that was reasonable with your people. But right now, the issue is we need to get the assignment. We have the contract. We can enforce all of our rights under that contract.
Ken, I'm not suggesting, I was just saying, if that was a possibility, if it's not, if they're saying, no, we've got
And I
to.
think the majority of the board is agreeing with what you're
So
saying.
I would like to make a
Thank
motion
you.
that we approve the reassignment.
Wait a minute. We got a motion on the table.
Oh,
We gotta-
Yeah.
well, no, Fred kind of made an edit to it.
Well, there's a motion on the table and you
We
can.
can do a friendly move, a friendly amendment
No.
to that motion if you choose, as long as the person who made the motion agrees. A motion on the table must be disposed of.
Can I make a friendly amendment
that's
to
okay.
motion, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. The friendly amendment is that we approve the reassignment to priority waste as currently is. And we also request that our attorney, Fred Lucas, contacts the CEO of Priority Waste to have further discussion about the future state of the contract in the event of, a need to renegotiate terms
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever
fine.
it is.
Are you okay with that, Bernice, that amendment?
I am.
Okay. So the amendment is modified to state what Rhonda just said. So with that in mind, why don't we call the roll, Lynette?
Finley, yes. Schwartz,
Yeah. Yes.
Seacrest,
Yes.
McGill,
Yes.
Blinky,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thanks, Paul. We'll be in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That takes us to the motion to approve proposal for emergency repair for a fire truck. Chief, you want to come on up and tell us what's going on?
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Every year we have our fire apparatus preventive maintenance and pump testing done to be certified in order for ISO to be completed. This particular fire engine is a 2012 KME Class A pumper. We've never had major issues with it. It has over 100,000 miles on it. And we sent it down to Williams Detroit Diesel in Toledo, which has emergency technicians to repair specific fire trucks. Upon their inspection for DOT, they discovered some major components that have failed and are in need of repair and to be addressed. You should have a copy of the estimate that I sent to the 3 township officials to share with the board members. And it's looking at $16,597.55 to repair this truck. It's currently assembled right now because they had to get into the components to look at it. The pump is basically out of service on it. And as we all know, costs of parts, labor has gone up. So I'm stuck with this truck being down there. It's not usable until it gets repaired.
So
I'd like to move the motion.
Or
Chief, this is the pumper? The tanker? that we're
Yes,
talking
it's
about?
out of Station One.
So if that out of service, then nobody who lives on a dirt road has ability to get fire service to their house because there's no hydrants out there.
That's correct. Well, this is the Class A pumper fire engine. We have the tanker, which is a 2007 that has 80,000 miles on it. So we primarily use the pumper to run medical calls, car crashes. It goes on structure fires in Station Two's district and all that stuff. So they jump trucks when they need
Chief,
to.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Motion supports. Anybody got any
Yeah, I
questions?
just have a question. Chief, is this the first time that this particular vehicle has been serviced? I mean, other than, the regular stuff like
The
real
major,
work? Yeah, major work?
yes, this is the first time.
Wow.
Okay.
How long is it gonna take for you to have it back in service?
I would estimate probably about a week.
Okay.
Once they approve it, they've already got the parts.
Oh, good.
They'll put it back together.
So any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the invoice or the bid submitted by WW Williams Toledo, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
That takes us to discuss campaign procedures.
I'm gonna start with that. The board has copies in front of them as it relates to signage and other considerations to be made by people who are posting signs. And I just want to share with it, and this will be in the board packet and online. Legal and best practices for considerations, Superior Township Charter Township Ordinance number 189. According to ordinance number 189, section 2, it is explicitly stated that it shall be unlawful for any person to solicit, peddle, or canvass upon any private property in the township, if requested by anyone in control under the premises not to do so, or if there is a place on such premises in a conspicuous position. I want to go further in federal guidelines. While the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects political canvassing as a form of free speech, this protection does not override private property rights. Courts have upheld the right of homeowners to display no soliciting signs and exclude canvassers from their property. If a property has no canvassers or no trespassing signs, you do not have the right to knock on that door. It is illegal to post unauthorized signs, including campaign signs, in the public right-of-way, generally 10 to 15 feet from the edge of the travel portion of the road, or attach them to the Washtenaw Community Road Commission property along the roadside, example, road signs or signed posts. Also, that what will be included is the information from signs along the roadside from the road commission. From what I've noticed, it's not just one, if we want to call slates, it's everybody that's violating this. So I'm going to bring to the attention that please look at that, because what's going to happen is after I share this tonight, the road commission is going to start picking up these signs, and they keep them. It is not their right to pick them up. And there's signage all over. I've never seen it. If your sign is not in an area where all the other signs are, then that means your sign is in the wrong place. So you need to go back and look at that. Michigan law prohibits placing unauthorized signs in the roadside, as I mentioned, in the right of way. Private signs such as political signs should be placed on private property outside the road right of way. And, riding through the township.
They're all over.
Thank you. They're all over the place, illegally so. The road right of way width varies by road. On most two-lane county roads, the right of way is 66 feet wide, but it can be more than 120 feet wide. So I know some people may want to see their signs displayed, but where you see all the signs, that's where the sign should go. It's out of the public right of way. It's in the back of. So when if you go out in the township, you will notice that. Going down Getty's Road, over in the I property and all that, that is no place to put your signs. You don't have rights to put your signs where people can see them just because you want your signs there. They must be removed. If they're not removed, they will be removed.
So I've talked to the road commission today and it came up. I was talking to him about
Oh,
that.
I talked to them.
Yeah,
So good.
and it was like Mike Masty, who's our foreman, has said he's never seen so many
Me either.
multiple signs for the same candidate at the same corner. And they're gonna give a few days and then like next week, they're gonna start taking them away.
So you want to get your signs up. And you want to get your signs up on Prospect Road. They're leaning against the signs from the from the road commission, you know, pass with care, this, that, and the other. Signs are not supposed to lean up against anything.
There's one exception to that one.
What is it?
That is if you have a house, like in a.
I'm not referring to a house. I said private property.
Yeah, well, right, but the road right of way is between the curb and the sidewalk. But they will not pick them up if it's in front of a house, between the curb and the sidewalk in front of a house. They won't pick it up. I mean, that's the one exception.
So I'm confused to where you are. So you're saying that on MacArthur Boulevard, that the signs that are all the way out and it's not on private property?
So let's say you take a typical sub and you have a house and it has a sidewalk in the curb. If you have permission from that owner to put it in the right of way
That's
between
my
the
point.
curb
Permission.
from the, yes, but the road commission will not pick up those signs,
Okay, I got it.
even though it's the right of way.
So it's deceptive then, right?
Yeah, that's the one exception.
Okay, no, deceptive. The road commission won't pick them up, but it's still not permission from the homeowners.
You have to have permission from the homeowners.
People do not have permission from the homeowners, is my point I'm making. And the other issue that I've encountered is people putting information in that's not have postage inside mailboxes. That is totally illegal, totally,
Literature and mail.
absolutely.
That's federal offense.
Hello,
Hello.
I haven't seen that yet.
I have.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So I'm just bringing all this to people's attention. Um,
It's good that you did it.
let me finish. Let's just campaign, right?
Exactly.
You know,
So the problem is.
can I finish, please? Thank you. There are going to be people who have support one or support another slate. Bottom line, and my job as clerk is to be fair to all people. And I'm asking every single person to do the right thing as it relates to campaigning.
The thing that bothers me sometimes.
You got to speak into your mic, Ken, please.
The thing that bothers me is, we have a beautiful township and it just looks so cluttered with all the signs. And I've never seen it like this ever.
And most
And
of them are
I've-
on the south side of Getty's Road.
They're all over. Yeah, there's not many north of Ford Road, but like down
My point
Prospect
exactly.
and, there's a lot. Okay, thank you, Linda.
Are you gonna say the other part that,
And we also have to be careful not to, in our jobs as officials, to make comments to people unsolicited. I'm not saying any names. I'm just saying we have to be very careful because as township officials, we should not be saying anything to candidates when they come into this township, helping them decide the way to vote.
That's right.
okay,
Okay, there
So-
being
Well,
nothing,
hold on.
so I just,
I'm done.
you're done.
well, this was about, you know what this was about, because there was a lot of emails going back and forth today. And over the last couple of days where an official was telling people at the counter who to vote for. So we had an opinion by Fred Lucas. I called MTA, and what I was told, if we need to, we as a board can make a motion to make it very clear that you cannot, when you're acting, when you're an official, an employee, anybody during work hours in this site or any superior owned site, you cannot tell people who to vote for. You cannot in private.
No, you can't do that. But if somebody inquires who you're voting for, you can tell them.
Only in, if
If
you're
they
on the
inquire.
other side of the counter. And what I was told, Ken, is that, you can say that, but the board can decide to make that very clear if we need to.
Yeah.
I
So
think
if
clarity,
people,
nothing beats clarity other than clarity.
so if you want clarity, we can make it very clear.
Well, why don't we think about that and bring it to the July meeting?
I think we could do it right now. So what I'd like to make a motion. I just wrote this because it's pretty easy. I move that anyone employed by or acting in any official capacity as a representative of Superior Charter Township during business hours and on work premises is prohibited from advising, instructing, encouraging, or assisting any residents of the township on who to vote for in any elections.
That's clear.
Do I have a
Support.
Any discussion on it? I think it's appropriate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
No, I think it's only fair.
All right, yeah.
To
we
let
can have- I guess
someone-
We can have a second, it's not on the
Yeah.
agenda, but we can have a second public comment, so hold your comments to 2 minutes and we'll go ahead and start now for anybody who wants to comment.
Well, I have a couple of things. One is this
you
is
state your
Deanna
name?
Here from Tanglewood.
You gotta speak up, please. I can't even hear you
Really?
in the mic.
Okay, so I'm Deanna here. I'm from Tanglewood.
Mhm.
On my GFL bill, I have paid through July. So we've all prepaid a month. I'd like to know how that's going to be handled. I think
Wait a minute, wait till your time.
Mike. But no, she has a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
Jan, why don't you come on up if you have some information on that? I would advise anybody who has an automatic debit account with them to end it now.
Well, I ended mine, but it doesn't matter. Our last quarter that we prepaid goes through the end of July.
Yes, and I asked.
Speaking to the mic, Jan.
And yes, and that was what I was concerned about. And so I asked him and he said that they would honor it.
Right.
So that the billing with priority would start in August.
Okay, who are you?
I'm a resident, Jan.
Jan?
Yes.
Okay.
So why don't we get that in writing from Paul?
Yeah.
And so we have something that will bind priority to honor the payments made by people to GFL.
In my opinion, it would be great once we get the approval for people to say it's priority waste, that there's more than a flyer from GFL.
That
Or
what?
from priority waste.
Well, we can put a lot on our website.
Yeah.
More detail.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
We did it the last.
I wish we had a text service or
Something.
mass call service where you could.
Well, we have notification service.
Right, alert on the website. And the people,
But I'm talking about things.
okay, she's still.
One more thing. I think it's appalling that the majority of the funds that you're reporting are all categorized as undesignated. And it's also appalling that there's not this is a balance sheet view that we've looked at tonight. There should be an income statement that shows line items that were budgeted and matching expenses. I worked for 33 years in finance at University of Michigan.
I think we do respect that. We
Never seen it.
This was our
Why
audit.
don't you come on by and we can get it?
So,
It's
so you
online.
can go online and you can look at
Right.
the last month's
Online.
minutes and you'll see it. There are financial reports or financial statements, just like what you're talking
By
about.
project? I mean,
Yes.
it's all,
yes.
Yeah.
not
in our
just all
board.
undesignated, because
No,
that's
no, this is
ridiculous.
an audit report. and it's-
Financial
yeah.
statement.
What's the
Yeah.
undesignated or designated is the fund balance. That's the money in.
I understand
Yeah.
that.
And most, like parks is designated, fire is designated, building is designated because there's really only one thing you can do with the building. The general is not designated. And maybe we should.
I
talk
would
about that.
expect the year-end statement to also have an income statement as well as a balance sheet.
Again, if you look at
I understand your
Yeah.
monthly meetings.
Right.
The audited financial
Yeah.
should have one.
yeah, I don't think I've ever.
Oh, we're government accounting. I don't think we produce income statements because we don't have income.
Oh,
We have.
we
revenue
do.
statement.
Well, we do.
Yeah, you do.
It's
Okay.
it's revenue and
do.
expenditures. That's what we call it.
Right.
Also, just another comment. When I worked at the university, I had a department budget of almost $1 million. And if I wanted to sign a check or authorize a check for over $500, I had to provide documentation and budget, and I needed 2 signatures above me.
And that's why the supervisor signs no checks.
I was the supervisor.
So, all right, is anybody else that wants to comment?
Ramona Parker Hayden. I have a question on the audit, some numbers on the audit, which I'm sure that all of you read thoroughly. It's on the revenue. It seems that the revenue under, I'm looking at the general fund. I'm looking at an income statement, which I think somebody thought we didn't have, but it's an audit. Under charges for services and under other revenue, there was a significant increase. The budget amount was 25K. The actual was 341K. For other revenue, the budget amount was, the final was 39K. The actual was 287K. So I want to know what makes up those numbers and why the significant difference. And I also want to know, why didn't anybody on this board ask that question?
What page are you on?
I am on page 55 of the audit of the packet. It's page 61 of page 273. And also, Clerk Finley brought up an issue about the ARPA funds, the designation. There's a note in the audit that says there's a list of how those funds are committed in the township offices. How do I get a copy of that list? Do I request it via email? Because when I send emails, nobody responds.
I respond to every email.
I sent an email to the board. Nobody responded. So
because the board as a whole, we're not going to violate Open Meetings Act.
No. I'm just asking, how do I respond how do I ask for that list?
Well, Ramona, if it goes to like the answer.
I've told you before, Mrs.
Yes.
Parker Hayden, you are
Parker
never to address me by my first name. You have not been invited to do that, nor have I given you permission. We are not that familiar.
That's right. Okay, so if you want something that's under the auspices of a particular department, then you should contact that department with a FOIA or contact through the clerk with a FOIA requesting the information that you want. They'll supply it within 5 business days.
Even if it's something that's stated in the audit that says there's a list that's kept in the township offices?
Yeah, well, it's a regular kept business record for us, and we go by state law, which we should probably have a FOIA for that. You can tell us what you want, and we have an obligation to get it to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Anybody else?
I want to make sure that I'm in compliance. So the document you had in your hand, Lynette, regarding the signage, are we able to get a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay, so is that available tonight?
It's on the road, Washtenaw
Website.
Okay,
website.
okay, and so.
But I can, yeah, because I just suggested each slate of votes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just talk to your candidates and let them know. I can give you my copy.
Okay, and so the last question, I know somebody said that the road commission will be coming through. Was there a date?
Landis, I'm sorry.
No, there wasn't a date. They just indicated that they will, if they have time, they're gonna come through.
No, I asked them within the next couple of days. I did ask.
Especially if they're interfering with, the sign is interfering with sight distance. Right.
My name is Brian Clark. I live at 8600 Barrington. I'm a candidate for supervisor. My question was about the signs as well. I was just trying to get some clarity. So my understanding was that if it's not on private property, it's technically illegal. Is that accurate? Ms. Finley, sorry.
Not necessarily. Where you see all the signs, it's not in the right of way. So those are the locations. Where you don't see all those signs is where you're not supposed to post your signs unless you have permission from the property owner. There are locations that we provide that's not in the right of way. So that's why you see all those signs where one sign could be lost within that conglomerate of all those signs. When a person places a sign where there are not signs, and it's in the public right of way, that's when you're in violation. So there are signs coming up Prospect Road, coming here to the township.
They're in the right of way.
They're in the right of way.
So the
There
general.
are other signs in other locations. They're in the right of way. There are signs off of Getty's Road near the roundabout. They're not supposed to be there unless you have permission from the property owners. There are signs on property not supposed to be there unless you have permission.
So, Mr.
Simple.
Clark, the general rule is don't put it on the side of the road on main thoroughfares, especially, unless you have permission of the property owner. And then you can't put it in the right of way. You have to put it on the private property.
Okay, so again, trying to get some more clarity because one, some of those spots are just over flooded.
What we're gonna do is let you read thank you. In fact, board, can I have your copies? And it'll be online tomorrow, first thing tomorrow. Okay, definitely.
Okay.
Mr. Clark?
Lynette,
Here you go.
what do you want, Beth?
I don't want anything back.
You gonna put on the website?
All right. Anybody else want to
Give Irma your
comment?
copy.
Seeing none, can I get, oh, we have something on, somebody online.
From their website. You're welcome.
Landis, well, around this one.
Hello, my name is Samuel Hayes. I live over in Oak Brook in Superior Township. And I was just showing up. I believe I had mentioned something of this nature back in December. We have problems that we deal with as a county on a whole. I go to Board of Commissioner meetings all the time. I would encourage many of you to listen in or go there physically as well. And I mentioned this to them. There is a lot, Superior Township, Ypsilanti, Saline, Dexter. We can all work together to solve the issues that we're trying to rely on Washtenaw County as a whole to deal with. One of those things that's an issue right now is the unhoused population. We may not have to deal with it specifically here in Superior Township that much, but we recently just had one fail in Ypsilanti Township where they tried to build one. I can only encourage you to reach out to your constituents, see if you have space. I mean, y'all got a farm out there that you're still working on expanding right now. So there's very obviously space for unhoused people. And I think Superior Township can probably lead the way on trying to help everybody in Washtenaw County and not just themselves. And another thing is that I highly encourage all of you to look very deeply into this data collection issue that I brought up with the cameras on the outside of the garbage trucks. I know it might not seem like a big issue here in America, but over in Europe, that is quite frankly very illegal to have recording equipment outside of someone's home without their very strict permission. And we had that issue with Google. I know some of you all were aware of it at the time, where they simply they were not allowed on some roads in Ypsilanti Township. And I know there were a couple out here as well, but I don't know if it was because of the dirt or if it was because of a legal issue, what have you. But I'm not sure if we're not comfortable with Google doing it. I don't think we should be comfortable with Priority Trash doing it. If they get hacked, now all of a sudden, are they going to pay for everybody's privacy things at that point when you have your information?
We have to
taken?
investigate that.
Yes, thank you so much. That's all I encourage.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Darryl, do you want to comment?
Well, I don't think I made it clear that I am the owner and CEO of Morris Concrete. And if there's issues that you guys have been receiving emails or calls about, I have never gotten an email or a call about any of them. And I would like the opportunity to correct those issues. And that's all I can say.
Thank you, Darryl.
I just like.
I will give you a bill that we need paid, and you said you're willing to pay it. The supervisor was supposed to give it to you back in a couple of months ago, but I will give it to you. I'll reach out to you.
You're talking about the Cougar bill? Yep.
Yes.
And I just
Okay.
like to, I'm sorry, were you done? This is not to Morris Concrete, so I can wait until he's.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Darryl. You have
Okay.
anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks.
I just like to say thank you to Ken Polka. It looks like he just walked out the door. I just wanted to thank him for the audit.
All right. So we have people online who have comments. Go ahead, Landis.
All right. So JB says, I just paid my GFL bill. So Priority Waste needs to have a plan to coordinate the collection of payments with GFL. I do not plan to pay a Priority Waste bill during the current billing period.
All right, thank you.
Another one said, regarding GFL has sent many people to collections for being less than a month past due on their bill. What will be done to ensure that this does not happen if homeowners refuse to pay this latest GFL bill for August to October?
Okay, well, we would need to have that information provided to us so we could help out. We don't know that. Who sent the
Mike.
collection? What's the next one, Landis?
That's it.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
No, he didn't say free at
Thank God. All right.